I want to go over a couple of quick little kind of techniques that might help you, but then I want to work with you where you are, because it's kind of the culmination, and you have enough techniques and tools to really continue on when we're not together anymore. So I'd like to share some that people have done. If I might. Let me grab that other paper. Oh yeah. I don't want it to fly off.
I forgot paper and brushes today.
Yeah.
I was really prepared.
So this is
Cool. Oh, that's nice.
really nice.
Really nice.
I'm gonna, for the picture. Okay.
It's not finished yet.
No. And she's added, please explain.
The stencils. I use this little spider web to make those leaf shapes. I brought my favorite stencils if you all want to play with them.
And the paste. What's the paste?
Andy's paste.
Nice. Very cool.
Up in there. And what she's doing that for is to,
Break up a solid mass of colored.
or you said too, if it gets stained or something,
Yeah.
it kind of covers and you can paint on top.
Can't get rid of it.
Nice.
Okey-dokey.
Cool. So here's her stencils. I'm going to use the back of your paper. And Andy has a really cool stencil. Picture for later, not just for them, but for you guys for later. And you don't want to use these very equally. You want to mix them up. This one's kind of cool. It looks very natural,
Yeah.
like spills and stuff. So even though some of these are very regular, like this, and this one you could lay it down, use it like a stencil, or you could put paint on it and then use it as a stamp. Just trying, like I wouldn't use the whole spider web because it's too kind of obvious that it's that way.
It makes great leaves.
Sorry, I'm just true. Here's Andy's. And we talked again about the surf. She asked about water. The surface of the water should be stepped down. It always finds its own horizontal. So even though it appears to be curved, you want it to be line, 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 but irregular sizes, irregular distances. But
Are you saying that should be more of a level, or are you
it would
saying...
be better like back here, a little bit of a level,
Right.
multiple levels, because water doesn't curve like that, you know. But that's nice. And adding sparkle somewhere else. The water's right here, which I think is nice. It adds that sparkle element. But if she had some other paper shining through somewhere else too, it would kind of bring the eye continually around the painting. This is very nice. Thank you. I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
Well, you start.
I got it.
You get this giant
I got
board.
it.
I know.
Second down.
This here, the background colors here are all in the same tonal value that we've talked about in pastel. Each color you can go with a tint, makes it lighter, or a shade makes it darker. By keeping them all the same value, even though they're different colors, it creates an iridescence in the painting.
Andy and I've been taking some, and started taking this online course, the peony and the parakeet.
Peony and Parakeet.
Yeah, it's a Finnish woman
.com.
who's a watercolor artist.
And she teaches right on the website?
She's got the course.
You have to sign, if you sign up and pay.
Yeah. Is it a Patreon or is it just her
She
own
has a
website?
Patreon, but this is a course
Yep.
that she does 3 or 5 videos, I think, spread out over 3 different dates.
Nice.
So the first one
Yeah,
was
the first
3 videos. The first video was just materials, and then the second and third we got into the weeds.
Nice. Into the weeds. Get us out of the weeds. Kathy's she's still working on the duck, which is great. And I want to show you a little bit of something like this in a minute. She also did it in pastels. She is working here from another painting. As I look at that other painting, it's incomplete. You're not getting the full information of what is going on with the duck under the water. What's happening to this wing? It doesn't show. So a photograph is better, life is better. And you have to think like this wing here, if you think of it like a palm of your hand, right? It's going to catch the highlight here, and underneath this is going to be in shadow. So you want to think of the form of something as well.
I love that.
And I want to come back and show you a little technique when I get to the techniques. This is coming out very nicely. I got a photo of this too. So what I'll do in the video is that I'll actually put the photo in. Nice sparkly little water.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love the color too.
And you just did the skimming of the brush over that. That worked out very, very nicely.
You did the what now?
Dry brush.
The dry brush, just remember how we just skim across the surface and left some sparkles between the trees so it's not all a solid mass. I love this wash
Yeah, that's
blossom down
beautiful.
in here. You know, poor Gail here, she's just struggling.
Yeah, right.
She wants to.
Let me show this one. Okay.
Wow. That's awesome.
And if you leave these up, people can look around and look closely. This is,
Look at your wall.
she's very deliberate and patient with her work,
Yeah.
and it shows.
And layered.
And layered, different styles. You definitely have your technique. And this, the foam,
Pan pastels.
pan pastels.
Yeah.
She sprinkled them on and then pressed it into the paper, so it gives a nice little foamy
Lovely.
quality to it. And by scraping it on there, it's like, you could do it with a pencil, but to try to do irregular marks, this way it happens naturally. It's like with the
Did
plastic.
you have a white spray thing also, or? Oh,
No.
so what
Just
makes
kind
all
Pan
those-
pastel is like powder.
Oh, I
Yes,
see.
so I put it on a
Oh.
real stiff brush and I flick the brush.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it falls
Oh,
naturally
That's cool.
instead of being
And the paint was still a
controlled.
little bit.
It wasn't, but it did
Oh,
appear.
fancy.
I pressed
Wow,
it
because of the
into my finger.
tube.
Line
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
Yeah, tell us about your distance line here. That's
Yeah.
sharp and clear.
Yeah, that's actually supposed to be rocks back here, but I made a mistake. So I turned it into water, but then the
Right,
water
but
was,
this clear white line here, how did you achieve that?
I just painted around it like negative painting.
And left it white?
Yeah.
So it had to be quite dry near the edge, so quite dry near that, and I can see you did it very, very carefully with
Yeah.
a square brush. Why am I picking up somebody's brush?
Yeah.
But then this was wet beyond this way, so it would blend up, and then
Oh, like,
vice
and did
versa.
you
Yeah.
turn your paper upside down when you did it?
Actually, I didn't. But what I did do, I took my glasses off and right down the
Right
page.
down to it.
Yeah.
I've seen people with like magnifying, lenses, and I don't know if I'd want to do that. But you could put in some wet here, and then get your color, and very careful. And I would do it. Remember, the natural line of our hand goes this way because this is to try to bring it this way is very awkward. And just get it the right angle and just bring it very carefully right along that edge, and then that would bleed up. And then if you keep the white dry, you can do the same down here to kind of dampen it, get color on your brush, and be very careful not to cross that line. And you
Neat.
Will the pigment
And you can turn the
stay
paper.
in there? I mean, it doesn't brush
if
off
that
when it
if that
dries?
white is dry, it's not going to take the pigment. The pigment will flow into wherever it's wet.
So it needs to be dry when you.
It needs to be dry.
I meant the pastel pigment is what I meant,
Yeah, that's
No.
right.
not the paint.
Say again.
You don't wet it
You used a pastel pigment.
Oh, this here?
for the foam.
Yeah, that pan pastels is pastel, but instead of sticks, it comes in a little, looks like a foundation, compact.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you can take your X-Acto knife and scrape off a little bit of that, or she did it by flicking, you wet it and flicked a brush.
Yeah.
So it was wet, that's why it stuck so well as
Uh-huh.
well. Yeah.
That was the question. It doesn't like get dry and powder off?
No, because pastel, if there's texture on the paper and you press it in slightly,
Yeah,
it will stay.
From what I remember, the brush was damp, and I think that's what did
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Because you can use pastels, again, it's just pigment. Watercolor has glycerin and honey. Pastel has a little tiny bit of gum tragacanth or something. So you can use it wet like watercolor. They go great together.
It's called pen, P-E-N.
P-A-N pastel, one word.
And make great stars on a dark sky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
It would.
I've done it. I did fireflies with it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They do have it down at Cheap Joe's, so you can buy it individually if you want. This lovely lady loves to paint from paintings.
Gold and silver
Very nice, great start.
in a little jar.
I love the color combination. It's so different than, because that's
We
not-
show it again? These.
Oh,
Yes,
so pretty.
Nice.
And you did dry brush too, didn't you? A little bit.
this is
Yeah,
rubber sheet.
I like,
Is this yours?
what do we call it, scrumming or something, where you just like do your brush every which way?
Scumbling.
Yeah.
Scumble, scumble, scumble.
You just made that up.
I do that. I do that. Ask my husband.
Nettie, where's the one you've been, the last one?
That's the last one.
Remember last week Nettie she started waterfall. She's worked, this is her third one. Can I, the second one too?
I like this one too.
That was the one she started last week. So in between she did this, and she's on some sort of Canson paper, which is not good. So she's adjusting from the paper she was using to a different paper and trying to adjust techniques at the same time. It is good if you can to get used to your particular materials as you're going along. So you can see a little struggle here.
But movement, that water has movement.
It definitely has movement. It's just kind of a big triangle.
Mm-hmm.
Here she's got it flowing more. It's stepping down through.
Big improvement.
And she's got the nice plastic rocks. Subtle, it's not overstated.
No, she's letting the waterfall talk. You know, that's the star of the
And
show.
she did add acrylic, a little acrylic white in there
Uh-huh.
to kind of pull that out a
to
little bit
sparkle
here
it
and there.
too.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I don't know if I got a picture of that. And Beth, let me show you this one.
Ooh, that-
1, 2, 3.
Oh,
Really nice.
Beautiful.
From her own photo.
along the-
So she's understanding what is happening in this. She's been there, she took the photo. That's, I think, part of the struggle, that when you're using somebody else's work,
Yeah, it's hard.
you don't understand the full story.
That is nice.
That's
So much
beautiful.
depth.
Beautiful.
We took a picture of this and turned it to black and white. This area here is almost all the same value. So it just kind of, where she has good contrast up here, she's got the sky peeking through. There needs to be variety down here. So she can either darken the background of the mountains as they come down, or she can decide to darken. I probably did the mountain area.
Nice trees.
Aren't they very
Beautiful.
irregular?
I like those trees.
Because
I know.
nature is always irregular.
I was trying to be Surratt. I was trying to.
You're with pointillism here, but it works here. Look at
It's
this.
gorgeous.
It's beautiful.
How the light comes through there. It's really beautiful.
Were the leaves
It is
dry
really nice.
brushed or so pretty?
She looks to have a combination. Some of it you can see, if you look at the underlayers, you can see where they're bleeding
Oh, yeah.
together. And then she let it dry at some point and put some over.
Wow. I
So
love
that
these pine.
combination.
The pine is unreal.
Yeah.
It's really good.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
I mean, when you get used to it, you know what's wet on wet and what's wet, dry on dry.
Gotcha.
And then the depth that you got in here is really,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
It's
Awesome.
For the cityscape.
Nice.
I also used a credit card on the buildings and then to make the windows framed.
Yep, and the power lines.
And in the shadow, I just sprayed right at the water line and held it up and it dripped
You
down.
just drip down that.
So it wasn't sopping wet, it was barely
That's the one thing
damp
about
dry.
watercolor, you can
That's what I
let
did.
the paint do half the
Oh,
work
it's
for
very
you,
cool.
if you learn how to control it, which you are.
Are the power lines with a pen?
Credit card, I think.
No, the
How
power
did you do
lines are
those?
with a rigger brush.
Okay.
Oh, a rigger brush, nice.
Very
Yeah,
yes,
very
delicate.
I love the rigger brush on tree
You love-
branches.
too.
She's right on the tip of that rigger
Right.
brush. It's like
Did you
one
cut the
or
credit
two
card?
hairs is touching the paper.
Yeah.
To what size?
This is playing with spray and the ink. Remember we used the ink last week? So that ink brush, she had colors here, and
That's what I thought.
sprayed it
Small owls.
so that what happened is
For some
the
of
paint and the
buildings.
ink is picked up and pulled into those wet areas in a regular way. So because it was sprayed,
Plain paint and then
the lighter areas are where it's still dry
it's just going
and the paint doesn't go into it. Does that make sense?
Different
But it also pulled the ink,
Wow, look at those.
so it's blending it. It's just a very,
And I was fighting the brush.
Texture.
My brush was pretty much dry. And I didn't, you
your
know,
ink brush.
for my ink brush.
Yeah.
And if it hadn't been,
Yeah.
I would have gotten more of these blooms
Really good.
like that.
The blooms,
Like
yeah.
I would spray and spray. See how it goes like
They're
this?
so irregular.
And
Yeah,
down
her
here,
brush is
nothing.
older.
Here, nothing. Like, ah.
All right, I'm gonna try a couple little techniques. Yes, and I don't think there's gonna be a problem with the tripod this week. Kat said I could play with this a little bit. She wanted more sparkle in the water,
Purple grays,
so we tried an eraser.
just let them all blend together.
Yeah.
I tried real hard to keep
Yeah,
this.
no, it's so much stuff around here.
Sort of, exactly.
I'm looking for, I had an eraser. Did I show you that once? That was an old typewriter eraser?
Oh, that's very hard.
50th waterfall.
I don't see it here.
I know, like.
But back when it was a typewriter, you could get an eraser that was like
They're hard.
A round circle?
this. No, but the eraser actually had grit in it.
So with sand.
Yeah, and this I tried, and it's not picking up enough of the paint. So this blue has really sunk into the paper. So this is a good thing. You can bring and just lightly scrape across there to pick up some light. Sometimes it works if you lay it even flatter for a wider area. See how that's adding some sparkle back in. I always keep mine covered because,
Good idea.
well, I did initially because of, children, but also it keeps it sharp and keeps you safe. You don't reach into your brushes. So thank you for that. I did this morning. I played with it a few times here because none of the paper's really doing it. This is not working, this paper at all. This paper worked somewhat. What this technique is soap and water. So I get some soap and I get bubbles.
This soap?
Yeah, I just use Dawn. You're cleaning your brush at the same time. Well, Dawn's great because, I use it on animals when there's oil spills. So it's just safe.
It's gotta be good.
It's gotta be good, right? You hear it's Smucker's, it's Smucker's. That was brilliant
Yes, it
brilliant
was.
marking. So then I can pick up some paint and I can, like maybe waves or something. And then when you wait for it to dry, it'll give you another irregular pattern. See, this paper is too absorbent. It's just sucking that right in. I'm wondering if that's Watman. But here you can see, and then you got to realize, okay, leave it alone. Like maybe it's foam at the top of a wave. And then you're going to go and, wash your brush after. But I put out some cups. If you want to try that.
And that brush is so irregular on the tips that you were using.
Yeah. But that one's, and I think that's why I chose that one. Otherwise, I'd probably grab one of these and mush it up to separate the hairs.
That's a good technique.
That's a technical term,
It
mushing.
is. I have an old
Mushing
mirror
up.
brush I do that with and really mash it in the paint and then just,
Yeah.
kind of cool.
But these are, if you don't have one of those are great. Figures, boat, spray and pour. Spray and pour, and I don't have any pre-made paint. I should have, I apologize. This is kind of big for this. You can get nice little condiment cups. Work really nicely with this.
Dollar store has some really small little dishes like that. Little,
Oh, do they? Nice.
It's amazing what you can use
You can order
from the
Mexican takeout and get little.
cheap white plates.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You can have a plate for every pallet.
No, I spray it off to the side because I want to get it going. Because sometimes at first couple sprays it's not going, and you want that irregular mist. So I light spray. I look, it's kind of irregular. I don't know if I have enough. Do I have enough? I'm going to do a little more. Come on.
Pour.
Yeah, it's not pouring enough. More water. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's exactly what my ink should have done.
And that's, yeah.
That was drying up, but that's exactly what it will
Wow.
do. That's really cool.
That's cool. So do you wish there weren't such big globs of paint?
Right. Right now it's very globby. So I'm like, too much paint in certain areas. Notice how I keep turning the paper towel to a dry spot.
Yeah, that makes a nice tree at the top.
Yeah. I mean, you learn to control these things.
There's that.
There's that. But
And you're the teacher, so
It's a photograph.
yeah, that's
I
right
took-
where I got my shot yesterday. No, that's okay.
Leaves in a puddle in my driveway.
Yeah, that's
wow.
awesome.
Oh my God, what a beautiful.
That's amazing.
Isn't that something?
Perfect. That is amazing.
That is amazing.
No, it's a photograph.
So the middle ones, you could use a green and orange in the middle, and then do the spray outside of the darker.
Just go
I-
with it.
Something?
Mine thinks like mine. I mean, I see things, and mine makes this connection
Oh,
to
yeah.
really random,
Oh, yeah.
random things. Beautiful. Well, you're gonna work from that, right?
I don't know what I'm gonna do with that.
Would you use the plastic around the outer part of that? The plastic wrap? Would that work?
Oh. No, I don't think it would.
No?
She's asking,
You could if you
because these are
crinkled
big.
if you crinkled it right.
Yeah.
And you
And
could
let
do
it
that. I would do maybe the plastic underneath, lighter colors. Let it dry, take it off, make sure it's totally dry, and then do this on top of that.
Yeah.
So you could do
That'd be
2 or
awesome.
3 layers of
Right.
that and really get
Right.
some beautiful textures.
Right. So come
Can I
walk-
say so?
Walking the
Sorry.
dog. Isn't that beautiful?
That's amazing.
I hope I'm in the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so mad at the landlord because of the potholes.
Why?
I'm not gonna say anything.
Glazing. Glazing's tricky. Glazing, you have to work very quickly. Oh, I need to get the soap off my palette. Because it does do a resist thing.
Cleans out your palette.
And it cleans out my palette. I'm gonna, on here, the best way to glaze usually is with one of your transparent colors. And I think I gave you a chart at some point. Transparent, opaque, 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 transparent, transparent. It's not really transparent, it's more translucent. Opaque,
You
opaque,
just
any
know
earth.
that.
Well, I've learned over years.
Yeah.
But if you, for instance, took some of this lemon yellow and you paint it here. Oh wait, this is what I need. This is not a great example, but you can see through it.
You take a Sharpie and do that. You can,
Yeah.
It'll really work. You can really tell.
Sharpie really helps, something like that. Where if you take an opaque color, like one that's ready to go, and you ran that across, see how it's gonna cover that better. This is shining through because now there's a dent in the paper and it's gone down here, and the Sharpie would
Which will
work better.
which will give you darker lines if it settles in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like taking handle
Graded
while
it.
it's still wet. Yep. That pushed it away. That digs into the paper so you can see the paint already kind of settling into that darker area. Well, now it's drying. Wow, it's drying fast.
I think that's my
Is that you?
favorite.
Is that yours? Who's
That
good?
might be mine.
Gets your attention.
It's
glazing.
pretty loud, apparently.
Ultramarine. So I'm going to glaze this. So you want to get enough. Looks like there's still soap on my
Does look a
palette.
little soapy.
Well, that'll be interesting.
That'll be interesting. I'm going to pull in. This is why I don't totally clean my palette, because this is blue, but it's a little too blue. I can pull in some of that gray and kind of neutralize it. So you don't have to have it perfectly. If I want to glaze this, like it's fog now, whatever this is, I don't know. You want to do it quickly. You want to have enough paint here to do it quickly. You see it's thin, and you just kind of go across and you glaze.
And what do you mean by a glaze? Something you put on at the end?
Like a fog or something. So see how before it was contrasty, now it's not. So it's going to give it that
is at the
foggy,
It
less.
is at the
It
end
is the
usually.
last thing
Yeah.
you do. Yeah.
And the reason why you go quick is you don't want the paint underneath to wake up and run.
Right. Because if I do this and I keep trying to glaze it and
Right,
glaze
then
it,
it'll-
it's
then
going to
it'll
pick up
wrap
that other paint
Yeah,
and
there it goes.
obliterates what you've
It pulls
done.
it all together, though.
It does, you're
Visually.
exactly right.
Yeah.
Like if I wanted fog here in this gorgeous painting. Say there's fog. Let's get a little more gray. You know, so now it's a little bit foggy. I brought it down a little bit. But I did it quickly because otherwise, if I come back on this, see how it's going to pick that up. Which you might want. Now it looks like one of those Asheville fogs that comes across the city, which is usually, if you guys don't go from east to west, it's usually right at the river. I used to come from West Asheville, come across the river, fog bank right there.
Okay.
So that's glazing, and that takes, again, some practice.
It also tones down a color. So Terry Lynn told me about glazing because I had a house that was not the star of the show. It was just up there.
In the
And I was
background.
doing it from a photograph, and it was kind of a rust color house, and so I did that, and this was about a year ago. And I said, well, I just ruined the whole painting. And she said, no, glaze over that. Just glaze it with a cerulean. Just take it and just glaze right up. And I was amazed. It just toned it right down and pushed it back.
Because
So-
your cerulean is a little bit opaque. Yeah, no.
Little bit.
Well, this is not going to show. I'm going to go over the. But now it's a wave in a foggy day or something.
How do you know when to glaze?
When you want to.
If you want to pull it together.
Okay.
You want
Or
a little bit of
soften
fog,
something. Yeah.
Softening.
Set something in the background, like the blue would go over that that rusty color she had. Whoops. Yeah, see, that's not quite dry enough, but the blue will soften it down. That
And
wasn't dry.
it was not a large house. It was small, and it was in the background. But it
So
was
you
way
put
too
it
big.
over the glaze, some of the sparkly water, but not all. So that was.
You can be judicious about where you're going to put it, right? Yeah. Because now this wave is gone because I've lost all the sparkle in the water. I was just looking for anything to glaze.
get that white pan pastel.
Yes, I am. All right. I want to use this guy. These are kind of fun things. I put them up here. If you want to do like a quick figure, isn't that gorgeous?
Ugly. I knew what it was.
It's a carrot.
Exactly. It's kind of a carrot, and that's what you kind of think of. So we're going to go. Nothing very fancy. I don't think this brush worked. Sorry. The right tool for the right job. What was that? Oh, Roxanne. Remember when Steve Martin was trying to get into the house? Do you remember that movie?
I do.
And he pulled out a credit card to open the door.
Did you know that he lives not far from here? Somewhere in Hendersonville.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? He has a house in Hendersonville?
Uh-huh.
That is,
Steve Martin.
I always heard that, but I always heard it was Madison County. And so, I don't know where he lives.
Obviously, he's not telling.
No. That was probably a secret.
you don't need to do a lot of detail if it's a figure in the background to make it kind of look like a figure. Like you said, you kind of think carrot. What if he's got his arm out? Whoa, that's wrong. He's got one of those pirate shirts on. Whoops.
You told us about
I
that.
know.
He could have 2 legs.
Well, he's kind of, long. And then the dog, you can kind of make a little M for the dog. His little head here. And a tail. So without, I mean, if this is off in the distance, you don't need it to be super, super fancy, because if somebody glances at your painting and that's up there, it reads as a figure. The mind completes what it's seeing, and then you're involving your viewer into the artwork instead of spelling out everything for them. You spell out everything for them, you get a photograph. And we already have photography, so that's just kind of my feeling. The boat, I saw this technique, and I don't do boats this way, but I thought it was kind of something you could try. The infinity symbol. Okay. Shade in the background here. I'm gonna make, I don't know what kind of boat I'm making. Lighten it up. I want to keep a gunnel. I want the gunnel to be clear, so I'm trying to bring the paint down so it's not like Gail did with hers. And nice. So there's variety. Sorry, this is not going to be my best demo, I can tell already.
Have mercy.
Have mercy. Lighten it up. See how I draw in the air before I actually put it down? Like, is this where I want to go with this? Maybe a little. That's blended up too much. I can come back and fix that a little bit later. I don't have enough pigment here. Oh, this is going to be so tall. Get a little more like blue. And the sail is wrapped. I don't like the front of this. Again, where that water is, I didn't do that well. But just real quickly,
It could be about the distance.
about in the distance. That's not, that one's a little better. But I kind of drew that up there to give you an idea of some just little quickie things that you can do to add
I
figures
like
and
that
stuff in the
M for
back.
the dog.
Yeah.
The M kind of worked out, yeah.
Looks great.
Carrot for the body, or a comma. Somebody who said a comma with a dot on top. Like if it's really small, and the M for the dog works pretty well. Why am I doing this brush? This one always... Whoops. Well, there they are. They're talking. I don't know.
Cool.
But you, again, you don't need to spell it all out. You can have some suggestions, and the suggestions will be finished.
There you go.
The scraping, all sorts of ideas. What do you think? This is coming out really cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you're right, I did had, there was too gloppy. Probably should have blotted it before I did the spray, but look at leaves and
I
stuff.
know, that's
That
what I
looks like
was,
the
that's what I
photograph.
was saying. It's
Reminds
just
me of
like,
Beth's tree.
Well, that's what was supposed to happen, and it did in one little space, but
Yeah.
I was fighting that dry ink, it went on dry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
very
then you
cool.
might be able to, what could we do here?
Make that paint work for you.
Yeah, okay, this is a craggly tree, so we're gonna bring that brush off. Dead branch there.
Make lemons and lemonade.
Well,
And with
That
watercolor,
was
you kind of
awesome.
need to do that. So now it looks like a very textured trunk,
It sure does.
where it was a mistake before. Happy accidents. Happy little accident.
Happy little accident. Great.
And there's bluebirds.
Ta-da.
Fly!
Now we can go make our own mistakes.
Yes, instead of watching mine.
Cool.
Gives you some ideas, I hope. I might,
Is that a photograph or is that a?
no, it's a photo. It's a photo I took, a Portland headlight.
Oh,